I moved to Denver 7 months ago, and no one in my family noticed. I did not make a big speech or a long goodbye. I packed my car in Columbus, Ohio, at dawn, when the street was still quiet and cool, and I drove west with coffee in a travel mug and the radio low. My name is Claire, and this is my voice. I tell it straight. I wanted a life that felt like mine, a place where I could hear my own thoughts. America is wide, and I chose a dot on the map and said, start here. The house I found is small and kind to me. It has a blue door, bright as a lake in summer. The porch is just big enough for one chair and a plant. Inside, the living room is shaped like a shoebox and smells faintly of pine cleaner. I bought a secondhand couch for $75 and a lamp with a tilted shade for $12. I lined the kitchen shelf with paper that looks like tiny clouds. The bedroom is the size of a folded blanket, but when I open the window, I can see the sky turn gold at 6 p.m. and silver at 2 a.m., and that is enough. Money is not easy, but it is clear. My rent is $1,120 a month, and the landlord, a woman named Mrs. Wright, likes cash on the first day. I paid a $500 deposit and the last month in advance, so the first week hurt, but I slept well anyway. I track every dollar in a little notebook. $3 for bus fare, $9 for coffee beans, $28 for a thrift store jacket, $4 for stamps. I keep a separate line for dreams. Train to the mountains, $60. New boots, $85. Rainy day, 20 pounds. That last line is because my friend Emma, who once lived in Europe and now manages a bakery here, slipped a folded 20-pound note into my hand and said, for luck. I do not spend it. I keep it tucked under the sugar tin, a small promise to myself. I am not alone here. My neighbor Ben is a tall man with a soft voice who waters the street trees at dusk. He loaned me a drill so I could hang my cheap curtains. Emma brings me end-of-day bread from the bakery when it is too late to sell. At the print shop where I work, my boss, Nora, shows me how to align the plates and listen for the steady thrum of the press. When the machines run, the whole floor hums like a calm heart. I like that sound. It is honest. It tells me what the day will be. I clock out with ink on my wrists and walk home past small houses with bikes on the porches. I did not tell my parents I moved. I did not tell my sister, Lily, either. Not because I wanted to hurt them, but because I wanted to see if I could stand up inside my own life without leaning on anyone. Back in Ohio, our family liked to look bright in photos. We lined up straight at Thanksgiving and smiled like we were a catalog. My father, Richard, called it keeping up the standard. I called it holding my breath. In this new house, I breathe. I cook eggs at midnight if I want. I read on the floor. I keep my phone on silent. Days pass, clean and simple, like pages turned by a slow hand. I know Boston is out there with Lily in it, making plans I have not heard. I know my parents are in Ohio, carrying on, telling friends that everything is fine. Here in Denver, in America, I sweep my porch and lock my blue door and count my dollars. I am not missing. I am choosing. If my family ever asks where I went, I will say, I moved to another state and I stayed. And if they ask why, I will point to the light on my kitchen floor in the morning and say, because of this. The call came on a Thursday night while tomato soup simmered and the radio mumbled a baseball game from somewhere back east. I had just swept the kitchen and cracked the back window to let in Denver's cool air. The blue door glowed like a calm lake under the porch light. When my phone lit up with Dad, I let it ring once, twice, 3 times, as if the sound itself needed time to reach me across America. I answered on the 4th ring and said, "Hi, Richard," before I could stop myself. He hates when I use his name instead of Dad. The line went still, and then his voice came sharp and sure, the way a key bites into a lock. "Your sister is getting married in Boston," he said. "You will come. We need the whole family for the in-laws." I stirred the soup and watched a red whirlpool form. The print shop had paid me that afternoon, and my paycheck, $1.28 after taxes, sat folded in my notebook by the sugar tin where Emma's 20-pound lives like a quiet charm. I had already marked the month. $1,120 for rent to Mrs. Wright on the 1st, $64 for utilities by the 10th, $38 for a bus pass. I ran the numbers in my head the way Nora taught me to run a press. Slow, steady, precise. A last-minute flight from Denver to Boston would be about $600 if I got lucky, and a dress that wouldn't shame Lily's photos would be at least $120, even at the thrift store. A hotel near the harbor? $180 a night if I kept it modest. We need, he had said, like my body, was a chair to complete the set. I'm not coming, I said, and my voice surprised me by sounding level, like the press when the plates are right. I turned down the stove and sat at my small table, the one Ben helped me carry in. From his yard, I could hear his sprinkler ticking, counting seconds onto the parched grass. Tell Lily I wish her a beautiful day. Don't be ridiculous, Claire. He said my name the way he says receipt. This is about family. The in-laws think we're perfect. The word perfect landed with a price tag. In our Ohio house, perfect meant starch and iron and everyone smiling in the same direction. Your sister is counting on you. Your mother is counting on you. I am counting on you. I pictured my blue door and the narrow living room that smells like pine cleaner. I pictured the way the afternoon light makes a smooth coin across my kitchen floor. I pictured my paycheck thin but honest. I am not a prop, I said. Not for anyone's photo line. There was a pause, longer this time, like a fisherman letting out line and deciding whether to reel. Then listen carefully, Richard said, and the voice I grew up with came out, polished, certain, meant for boardrooms and neighbors. If you refuse, you are out. The will, the house, the lake lot gone. Do you hear me? Don't test me. I pressed the phone to my ear and could hear a faint clink, a glass on a table somewhere in Ohio. The list came to me as numbers, due when I am scared. My savings, $7.42 and change. Cash in the jar, $31. Rent due in 9 days. Emma's 20 pounds that I would never spend. The calm of my porch at dusk. The way Denver teaches a person to breathe deeper because the air asks for it. I thought of Lily, whose laugh used to get us both scolded at the dinner table, and how her day should be soft and bright without me standing stiff beside Richard to make a picture. No, I said again. I won't come. He exhaled like a door slamming without the door. You are making a mistake. Maybe, I said, but this one is mine. He hung up. The dial tone felt like a hallway after a party, emptied of voices, still smelling of cologne. I set the phone face down. The soup had gone from a simmer to a calm red mirror. I turned off the stove and stood in the quiet house I pay for with my own dollars, in America, in a city I chose. Ben's sprinkler clicked to a stop. Somewhere, a train gave a low, friendly horn. I ate at the table with the crooked leg and wrote the day's figures in my notebook. Soup $3, bread $0, Emma. Courage no price, but earned. Then I slid the folded paycheck under the sugar tin with the 20 pounds, touched the blue door as if it could answer back, and let the night settle around me like a kept promise. 2 weeks after I moved to Denver, my old bank in Columbus called and asked if I had opened a new credit card for wedding expenses. The woman on the line sounded careful, the way a person does when they already know the answer. The application listed my parents' address, not my house with the blue door. The charge they flagged was $4,870 to a vendor in Boston. My name was on the form, but the signature leaned hard to the right like it belonged to someone who never learned my hand. I told her no. She told me to come in. I told her I was a state away in America, starting over. I walked to the local precinct and met Officer Hall, a woman with steady eyes and a notebook that snapped shut with purpose. She took my statement while the fluorescent lights buzzed like bees. We printed out the bank emails and the photo of the fake signature. She had me freeze my credit with all 3 bureaus. Keep every message from them, she said, meaning my family and any vendor who wrote to collect. Keep them even if they make you shake. I shook. She didn't. She wrote identity theft and possible coercion and slid a copy of the report across the desk, the way you slide a life preserver across rough water. At home, I tucked the report behind the sugar tin where Emma's 20 pounds sleeps like a small silver fish. I told Nora at the print shop enough to explain why I might take a call mid-shift. She put a hand on my ink-stained wrist and said, "We've got you." Ben tightened the wobbly leg of my kitchen table and left his drill on my counter, just in case. That night, I made rice and eggs and ran my numbers. Paycheck $1,128, rent $1,120, bus pass $38, groceries $46, courage again, no price, but worth more than the blue door and the roof together. Outside, the porch light made a clear halo on the step, like a coin I was finally allowed to keep. I didn't tell my family about the report. I wanted to believe it might all be a mix-up that would wash away on its own. Then Richard called about Boston and the perfect photo line, and the old fear rose up, hot as steam. After he threatened to cut me out of the will, the house, the lake lot, the promise of tidy dollars lined up like soldiers, I remembered the officer's voice. Keep every message. I scrolled through his texts, the ones with my full name and the hard periods, and I felt the same cold clarity as the first night I turned the key in my Denver lock. So when he called again after I refused, when his voice turned smooth and dangerous and he said, "Last chance, Claire," I decided not to argue my worth or list my hours or talk about how many dollars a life costs when a person pays it herself. I stood by the blue door and said the truest thing I had. "The police are coming," I told him. "They've got the bank report, the fake signature, and your messages. They're already looking into it." I said it plain, the way Nora says stop the press when it matters. Silence. Not the ice silent he uses when he wants me to fill the space, but a heavy, breathing quiet. Somewhere in Ohio, I could hear the clink of his glass, and after that, only air. He did not say my name. He did not say family. The threat faded like a storm that realizes the mountains won't move. He went quiet, and then the line clicked dead. 10 minutes later, Lily texted, "What is going on?" Her words felt like a hand reaching through a locked window. I told her I loved her and that everything I had just said to Richard was true, and that I wanted her day to be bright without me used as a prop. That night, Denver's wind rattled the lilac bush by the fence. I moved $200 into savings and wrote safety in my notebook like a bill I planned to pay each month. Emma brought lemon bars the next day and said I looked taller. Ben waved from his porch and told me he liked the new porch light bulb. The world did not crumble. The blue door held. The report stayed under the sugar tin beside the lucky 20 pounds from Europe, and I slept for 8 hours straight in my small house in America, the kind of sleep that comes when a person finally says out loud what is true and lets the quiet speak back. The morning after Richard went quiet, the sun slid over my kitchen floor like a slow coin. I made coffee and stood by the blue door while the pot hissed, counting my breaths the way I count dollars at the end of a shift. Outside, the street was soft with sprinklers. Ben waved a sleepy hello, then knelt to fix the hose that always pops loose. I opened my notebook and wrote the date, then 3 lines. Rent $1,120 paid, groceries $42 planned, peace priceless but earned. The police report still rested under the sugar tin with Emma's folded 20 pounds, a small, stubborn star from Europe that I won't spend. I tapped the tin twice like a ritual and told myself, this house is mine to stand in, this air is mine to breathe. By noon, Lily's name lit my phone. My hands went warm and shaky at once. I let it ring once, twice, and then answered. Her voice was tired and fast, like shoes on a long hallway. "I didn't know," she said. Richard kept saying it was about family and being presentable. He did not say a word about money or forms or banks. "I'm angry. I'm scared. I don't want you hurt." "I'm okay," I said and meant it. "I won't let anyone use me as a prop. Not in Boston. Not anywhere in America." We were quiet for a few breaths. I told her I wished her a bright day, free of pretending. I told her I would not stand in line for a picture that could cost me more than a flight ever would. She said she needed time and that she might call again before the wedding. "Call even after," I said. "Call when the lights are down and the shoes come off. I'll be here." When we hung up, I leaned my forehead on the blue door and felt the cool paint steady me like a hand. That weekend, I bought lemons for $3 and sugar for $2 and baked bars in Emma's honor. She laughed when I carried them to the bakery back door. "You pay me in kindness," "I pay you in bread," she said, trading me a still warm loaf that smelled like a safe childhood. At the print shop, Nora watched me line a plate and nodded. "Your hands aren't shaking anymore," she said. "That's worth a raise." It wasn't big, $1.40 more a week after taxes, but it felt like a vote. I wrote raise plus $1.40/week in my notebook and underlined it twice. Ben came over on Sunday with a little jar of screws and fixed the last wobbly chair in my living room. "No charge," he said. I put $10 in an envelope and slid it into his mailbox anyway. I like debts clear and favors named. On the day Lily married, I cleaned the house until the room shone. I washed the sheets, swept the porch, and set a small vase of daisies on the table with the mended leg. I wore my softest shirt and made tea. When the hour rolled around, I sat on the steps under the blue door and looked up at the open Denver sky. I said a quiet blessing for my sister. "May your photos be honest. May your laughter be real. May your yes mean yes." A breeze lifted the edge of my doormat like a shrug. Somewhere far away, a band started a first dance in a tidy hall. Here, a dog barked, a bus sighed, a child laughed. It felt like America answering back, a chorus of small lives doing their best. That night, my phone stayed still. No more threats. No more polished words. I moved $200 into savings and labeled it future. I set up a jar for Train to the Mountains, $60, because even small trips need a home to grow in. I tucked the police report deeper behind the sugar tin and touched the lucky 20 pounds, thinking of Emma's old city across the sea. I do not know if the will still has my name. I do know whose name is on the lease and whose hands turn the key. I am Claire. I live in a small house with a blue door in Denver. I pay in dollars, I keep a pound for luck, and I tell the truth. When the quiet comes now, it feels like rest, not punishment. I earned it, and I am keeping it.